Empire Strikes Back, second of the Star Wars films, on location in Norway. With a budget of $18 million and rising, the snow has to be real. It's a test of endurance for the cast, the crew, and the equipment. The organization and the money behind a film of this scale are beyond most people's imaginings.
There's explosions going on all around you. Okay?
Yet when the editing is finished, the pressure will focus on one man whose work can make or mar the end result. The composer, John Williams.
The music in a picture, an action picture, and particularly a film like Star Wars II: The Empire Strikes Back, this generally active music, it's fast, the tempos are quick, there are a lot of flourishes in the orchestra and so on, it's notey, so that it's a tremendous physical job of just getting the notes down. In fact, I'm a little edgy about having done only 8 minutes, I think, this week.
1, 2, 3.
The American film composer John Williams, known to his friends as Johnny, is one of the quieter personalities to be found in the movie world. But he's written the music for 45 feature films in the last 20 years, including Star Wars. Now he's conducting the London Symphony Orchestra in his score for the second of the Star Wars trilogy, The Empire Strikes Back, which opens in London on Tuesday.
We had, I think, 1 hour and 47 minutes of orchestral music to compose, orchestrate, and copy, prepare for the orchestra sessions. Sometimes it comes very quickly and there's a nice flow, and other times I hold my head in my hand and think, is it ever going to come? I guess you want to stand under the right kind of rays from heaven, or hope that the muses will not desert us.
In the control room of Anvil Recording Studio are writer George Lucas, director Irving Kershner, and the producer of the Star Wars films, Gary Kurtz.
Originally, John was recommended to George Lucas by Steven Spielberg, who had used him on Jaws. And we had all liked the Jaws score very much. It was a traditional symphonic score. And we went through a period in feature films where traditional scores were not used. Popular music scores and jazz scores were the rage in the 60s and into the early 70s. We felt for Star Wars that it was very important that it be a traditional romantic score.
Johnny is quite adept at finding the point of view for a scene and augmenting the emotion that's there.
Irving Kershner, the director of The Empire Strikes Back.
And, he's very good also at maintaining a long piece of music and getting all the variations without making it what we call Mickey Mouse. You know, where you accent every little bump, every little crash. We don't do that.
Here, hold it.
Star Wars is a sort of space fable, with a good republic and a bad empire, rebels, robots, Jedi Knights, and a princess. In the first film, there's a battle aboard the Empire ship, the Death Star, which leads to a duel with lightsabers between two of the Jedi Knights. The basic skill of composing for films can be seen in the unobtrusive match of music to abrupt changes of scene.
They may be splitting up. They may be on level 5 and 6 now, sir. Heading on the left.
What scene are we?
This is the beginning of the carbon freezing chamber.
He's emerging as...
Composing for films is always done under pressure. Sometimes the composer may see a script in advance, but his first practical involvement is usually the spotting session, when he sits down with the director to plan where music is needed, and equally important, where it isn't.
Is that
that's the beginning of the real
real rescue?
That's an important moment.
And he's Landau's beginning to really to emerge as a goodie.
Right.
Every director is very different. Some have no idea at all. They say, here's the film, do the best you can. Put music wherever you like, and others are very specific, and some are very expert at it. With some, there are disagreements. There are some whose feelings won't synchronize with the composers. My experience has been vast with these people. In those looks.
Yeah,
those,
it can build.
Yeah, right there.
For the new Star Wars film, the music spotting session involves, besides John Williams, the producer Gary Kurtz, director Irving Kershner, and the man who wrote the story and directed the first Star Wars, George Lucas.
Yeah, we should keep the tension going because it really... This is important in here.
You know, we might. Doesn't that grate open now?
Yeah, the grate opens.
There,
And it closes again.
At this stage, the film is almost completely edited as far as the picture is concerned. But the soundtrack is only a very rough working version, with odd effects cutting in and out, and dialogue often difficult to hear, or even missing altogether.
What's going on, buddy? You're being put into carbon freeze.
Lord Vader, but what if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me.
The Empire will compensate you for your loss. Put him in. Stop, Chewie! Stop! 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 Listen to me! Stop! No, please. Oh, hey! Listen to me, Chewie. Chewie,
this is marvelous. This is very touching here, I think. I need you to protect her. All that. I love that. Is that?
That's where it was. Yeah. That's what I was thinking of the princess.
Of what?
Instead of saying her.
Yeah.
The kiss.
Yeah.
Very good.
Now the great moment.
I love you.
I know. What are you going to say? I love you too.
Violent.
There's a love scene. We call it a love scene. It's actually a scene that leads to a kiss, which is the equivalent of a major love sequence in another film. And the music is a very, very important part of it. It's integral to the scene because there are only about 7 lines in the entire sequence. And the music is the dialogue in that particular scene. It tells us what she's feeling, because actually the two people are in open conflict. But the music says, what you're seeing is maybe conflict, but that's a game, because actually I think they're falling in love.
Hey! Listen to me, Chewie! Chewie, there's nothing you can do.
Although the film is far from finished, it's possible to compare the effect of this sequence, where the Princess Leia has to watch space pilot Han Solo being put into a carbon freezing chamber, with and without music. Here it is on its own.
I love you.
I know.
Okay. Yes, please.
Now here it is with the orchestral recording mixed into the soundtrack. The flashing dots and the lines on the projection screen are a visual guide for the conductor to synchronize with the music score.
Stop, please! I'm not ready to die!
Hey! Listen to me! Chewie! Chewie, this won't help me! Hey! Take your strength. There'll be another time.
To put it in a positive way, it helps a great deal if you like the film. If it's something that one can empathize with, or if it's a subject that you can seriously benefit or enjoy working on, it's a great help. One has to be almost chameleon-like in the sense that you have to adapt your style to suit the fabric and texture of the film, the period of the film, time and place, and all the rest of it. So these are the things I think that present the greatest difficulties. This business of shifting into a new suit, really, almost every time out.
Two films with completely contrasting scores by John Williams are Jane Eyre, released in 1971, and from the following year, a powerful film called Images, in which Susanna York plays a woman confronted by a confusion of images, both of herself and of the men in her life.
The score is almost entirely atonal. It was a picture of some of you may remember about a schizophrenic woman, and music is very wild sounding. It's not electronic, but I use a lot of percussion instruments and non-conventional sources of sound.
By contrast, Jane Eyre has a warm, tonal, romantic score.
It's, I suppose, an American attempt at what Yorkshire music should be. But I'm a great lover of British music, and perhaps some of that affection comes through in that score.
Jane Eyre also shows the thematic use of music in a film score. When Jane, once again Susanna York, first meets Rochester, played by George C. Scott, the music she plays on the piano is what turns out to be the love theme of the film.
Go to the piano. Play something. Enough.
In a later scene, when Jane has rescued Rochester from a fire in his room, the theme reappears to indicate the awakening love between them.
You saved my life.
Good night, sir.
I knew you would do me good. I felt it always. There's something about you, Jane.
Good night, sir.
It's a score that has a thematic kind of material. Once I've got the theme for that character or place or time, weave it into the rhythmic fabric of the particular scene that I'm writing it for. Sound effects are a big problem for a composer. You know, it's our great competition, the dubbing room, which is when all the sounds are being put together. Sometimes if a soundtrack is completed, the sound effects of a scene, I like to listen to that to see what my competition is going to be. If the aural spectrum is crowded in the high end, I might elect to orchestrate it in the lower frequency ranges to make it more compatible with the sound effects. But this is a rare luxury. Usually the sound effects are being cut for the sequences at the same time the music is being written.
Despite the fact that we have 110 minutes of music in this film by Johnny Williams, we also have to have 123 minutes worth of sound effects in the film.
For the Star Wars films, the special sound effects are put together by Ben Burt.
We have to create some 800 different special sounds for the film. These might, these would be special explosions. They would be the sounds of the lightsabers hitting one another, the various sounds of the rooms and the environments and places they go. This one particular sound I'm working on right now is one of the few really comical sounds in the film, and it has to do with the Millennium Falcon, which is the main spaceship in the film. And the Millennium Falcon, as you might know, is a spaceship which has been pieced together out of old junk. It's something like a hot rod car. It needs constant tuning. It malfunctions quite often. And as a recurring situation in the current film, the Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive constantly breaks down, and the hyperdrive is the system which allows it to go and fly greater than the speed of light. And to come up with a comical effect here, we've combined, I've laid out on the multi-track tape recorder over here 8 different sounds. The first thing is the inertia starter off an old 1928 biplane, which we recorded near here. That's what that sound is. And going back through, we also have the sound of an air jet recorded in a dentist's office, and an air hiss, as if air is escaping from something. Whoops. It's fooling me. Here's the air hiss. Aside from the air hiss, we have the sound of an arc light motor starting and stopping. Sort of a clunking sound. Then we were recording some tanks a while ago, armored tanks, and inside was a motor which operated the turret in the tank. The day we moved into this building, I went to the water closet and turned on the faucet to wash my hands, and the pipes rattled and jiggled and sort of talked and moaned, and so we immediately recorded that sound, which is here. Okay. All right, now if we took all these sounds and played them together, we'd get the following effect of the hyperdrive malfunctioning.
Let's get out of here. Ready for light speed? 1, 2, 3. Still see it.
Transfer circuits are working. It's not my fault.
No light speed?
It's not my fault.
John Williams was born in New York and returned there later to study piano at the Juilliard School. But when he was 15, his parents moved to California, and he now lives there with his own family in Los Angeles.
I live a very quiet life. A composer's life is, I think, just after a monk from the point of view of solitude, When I look at my cue sheets and time all the film, I'm alone all day long composing. Perhaps it suits me temperamentally, and it's certainly years of habit of working that way. I enjoy writing, and perhaps a more volatile kind of personality wouldn't find it tolerable to spend so much time alone. I love to play, and when I have time, I like to work at it. I love playing chamber music and perform a few times a year as much as I can with friends, either locally or wherever. I like making music with my hands. It's very different than conducting where someone else is making the sound. And It's also a very good discipline, and I think, for me at least, all the aspects of performance have a lot to do with what one is writing. I think you can write better if you are a performer, if you know really what makes a piece ebb and flow and really go. And that's something I think it only can be discovered in performance, the heat of the moment. It helps conducting. I think a knowledge of chamber music is very important for a conductor. After all, so that's the quintessential art of ensemble.
Il se repose. Puis il remonte sa minuscule honte. A-t-il fini? Est-elle cassée? Il se repose encore un peu.
Lovely. One of the big problems in composing for film is the fact that it is a restriction. There's the inhibition of time, there's the inhibition of the amount of sound room that you've got. We've talked about sound effects before and dialogue. There's a lot of things that have to coexist with the music that in a concert hall one doesn't have to worry about.
John Williams has written music for 4 films by Steven Spielberg. At 33, one of the most sought-after directors in Hollywood.
Well, the first thing I think about is that when I look at a film all put together, it's dead. It's like lively death. The film moves in its action pace, but there's sometimes nothing behind the eyes of the movie. And for me, music has always brought out a kind of spirit, and the soul of the movie is evident once there is music to encourage it along. And I've always felt that music was always a necessity for film, ever since the great train robbery, when the little man in the orchestra pit on the tack piano played to the images of the picture. The music was an integral part of movies. And I think in the 1960s, people got away from that. They began to equate realism with lack of musical sound, the absence of music. And those were the days of the social commentary, when young filmmakers were afraid to be too theatrical or too sentimental. And I think now we've gotten back, fortunately for you and for me and for everybody else, we've gotten back to full-blown symphonic orchestrations behind movies. And in many cases, like Jaws worked very, very well as a film, but you had to see it without music to realize how effective it was with that score that John wrote. It was not the same movie without the score.
Well, I think the music is often the unseen shock. We feel its presence through sensing the music. The thing that I picked up on the film in Jaws straight away was the rhythmic aspect of it.
Ship visits Earth, and a team of scientists tries to communicate with it, using music as a language.
Stephen wanted 5 notes. I'm not sure why. I kept writing 5-note groups and then 7-note groups, and I found out that 7 really produced a melody more than 5. 5 didn't seem to be quite enough. But your script idea called for 5 notes.
In a way, it left you guessing what the rest of the completed statement would be, in fact, because the was Johnny, I think, went through how many on the piano over there? Like 1,000 permutations?
I wrote about 200, actually.
It seemed like 1,000.
250. But do you remember you had a math friend compute out of the 12 notes available, starting with 5 notes the same, and up through the 12 chromatic notes of the scale. The number of permutations possible was, I think, 134,800 and X. And having done 200, and I thought I was exhausted. Please pick one, We had a long way to go, but we kept coming back to this same little figure, which is more like a doorbell or a signal or a message.
An ice cream truck.
Between the mothership and the computer bank of lights. And I tried every version of Moog synthesizer and electronic synthesizer of noises and all the rest of it, tape edits and everything else, to get a sound, a noise for the mothership, and a noise for the light board. And we eventually tried a tuba, half speed, double speed, reverberated, put through all kinds of sound enhancement devices. And the thing about the tuba was that the player had to breathe. He'd play a long phrase and then have to take a breath, and there was effort behind it, and it seemed to humanize the mothership. It may take 2 years to shoot a film, but we may have 8, 10, or 12 weeks to do all the editing, the mixing of the sound, the composing and recording of the music, for financial reasons and reasons of a distribution of the film and theater availability and so on. We have not all that much time. That's a composer really needs to write with fluidity to do well consistently in film.
The spotting sessions for The Empire Strikes Back took place in George Lucas's editing rooms in San Rafael, a few miles out of San Francisco. The rest of the music work, apart from the final recording, is done at 20th Century Fox Studios in Los Angeles. Many of the buildings here have facades that were once used as film sets. Even the front of the music editing office doubles as an elegant house exterior. After the complete film has been viewed for spotting, Ken Wanberg, the supervising music editor, prepares short sequences for John Williams to work on each day. There are nearly 50 music sequences in all. He also prepares detailed cue sheets, showing the timings of the various shots in fractions of a second.
Feels strange.
The film is viewed first thing in the morning as a black and white print on a moviola machine. This doesn't have the special anamorphic lens that recreates the widescreen in the film, so the picture here looks rather squashed. This work is vital in finding the exact moment where the musical emphasis is needed.
It's right here, 135.9.
Okay. 135.9.
Yeah, I haven't got it on there.
So it goes in here.
I guess
what do you suppose that we hear?
The monster makes a noise. He turns around and shoots.
Do we see him shoot it?
Oh, I see. I see his arms come up. Yeah, I see where. Yeah, right. Okay.
He's attacked first. I see.
Yep. Right there.
Just get rid! Shoot!
He says shoot, and then one flies right behind his face.
Watch!
Could have a great...
Yeah. They'll have a huge rumble in there.
207.3.
Back in his own office, John Williams spends the day writing the music for the sequence he's been viewing. Perhaps 2 or 3 minutes of music in the day.
My own practice in films is to use an orchestrator when the budget will allow and when time won't permit my doing it myself. Lately, the films that I've been working on have required so much music in the last 8 or 10 years that I've developed a long and wonderful relationship with Herb Spencer.
Shanti?
Right here, senor.
You want these things with the pianos similarly to the way we did them?
I, at the piano, sketch on a 10 or 8 line sketch pad. So on 6, 8, or 10 lines of sketch, I can indicate very precisely what the orchestration ought to be. But if I then had to put that on 32 lines or 50 lines in the orchestra, I would be slowed up by about 100%. So I can do approximately 2 minutes of score a day with Herb's help.
Let me do it that way.
Bon.
Okay.
That's good.
When he's finished his day's composition, he takes it back to Ken Wanberg for a final check against the picture.
12.4 coming out. Good. My first concern is a rhythmic one. I sense a speed to film. Every scene seems to have an underlying tempo, or a series of tempi, a whole set of them, perhaps, at different levels. The dialogue may go at a certain speed, the action may go at another speed, and there may be a variance there. So the thing that I try to feel in spotting in the early stages of the film are Simple things like how fast is it, or how slow is it, or when is the point in the film's life that it accelerates? When does it press on, press forward? When are the brakes put on? I think, in my mind, that's my first consideration. Okay, rumble starts about now, right?
Yep.
Okay. It looks pretty good. Measure 2 really is Darth Vader's ship. We see the Imperial ship there. Hence the big Vader theme at that bar. But
finally, at the end of a long day, he goes through the score with Herbert Spencer, who will arrange it for orchestra the next day.
So here, 25 seconds, point 1, some little objects float by the window. And the strings would be sustained here. But if it's celeste, sounding loco, I think, Herb.
There's an old joke about composing for film that goes, do you want it good, or do you want it tomorrow? With only 6 weeks to the recording sessions, and over 100 minutes of music still to be written, inspiration has to be immediate.
I suppose composers for centuries have complained about this. I think of Mozart having to produce a mass for Sunday for the Archbishop, or Haydn writing something for Esterhazy on demand. Let me have a new symphony for Thursday night's dinner. I suppose it's as old as the art of writing music. Now we come to a kind of a tutti, which is this thing with strings and horns. Yeah. Horn trio strings, double notes and cellos and basses.
A little over 7 weeks after the spotting sessions in California, the orchestral recordings start at Anvil Studios just outside London. An hour and 50 minutes of music have been written, arranged, and copied out into orchestral parts.
Boy.
The recordings will occupy the London Symphony Orchestra for 9 days, 18 3-hour sessions to rehearse and record an average of 8.5 minutes of new music per session.
82, 1, 2, 3. Bravo, gents. Good reading. Good for you, Lionel, the opening?
Fine.
Lionel Newman, head of music at Fox Studios and a notable film composer in his own right, sits with the mixer Eric Tomlinson, checking that all the detail in the score is being heard through the speakers.
Come back. What happens if I get caught?
Producer, director, writer, and music editor have all flown over from America for these recordings.
Give us a break on that.
Going on, number 10, please. Number 10. From that very spot, gents. Number 10 and going on.
At the center of it all is the composer, probably unknown to most of the public, but vital to the success of the film.
Save it, boys. Lionel, to set levels for you, I'll just give you bar 13 a few times.
Right.
13, please, gents, and only 13. Just that measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Winds alone, please. Let me see what's your problem. It is under a line, should be. God, you never tongue it. 13, 1.
Whatever may happen in the final sound mix, at this moment, all the effort is on getting the music right.
13, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay for you? Good.
All right.
Okay, we take it, please.
Even the dialogue and rough effects are not played while the music is being recorded.
Stand by, please, gentlemen. Here we go.
All right, here it is, Jen. Shh. Settle down, boys.
63157.